It's now 8 o'clock, whenever you're ready, Chair.
All right, call this public meeting, this TIRZ meeting to order this morning. First item on the agenda, I guess, is public comment.
We have no one signed up for public comment.
No public comment. Okay, minutes of the meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of the meeting.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. Okay. All right, we go to item 5. Contracts and agreements, contract with reinvestment zone number 1, City of Sugar Land and Sugar Land Town Square, Property Owners Association Incorporated. Teresa.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It has been a minute since I've been at the dais, and this is very formal, but it's required, as this will be our very last official presentation to the TIRZ board. So I'm going to try to get through it without shedding a tear, but I cannot make any commitments for that. So before we kind of dive into the past year's programming, I would like to take a moment and reiterate a few points that were made at a recent city presentation. Long before there was a Facebook and Meta that were part of our lexicon, way before, when people were still afraid of what 2K was going to do for us. Before Whole Foods and Target, there was these 32 acres of green space here that were primed to become the beating heart of Sugar Land.
Can you speak more into the microphone?
Absolutely, sir. Let me make it closer because I move along too. That better? Okay, thank you. So Town Square was really just a dream. Land community developers partnered with the city to develop this space into what we now know as Town Square, the mixed-use development. Construction began in 2001, and now the development includes more than 550,000 square feet of office space, 240,000 square feet of commercial, Forbin County's only full-service hotel with 300 rooms, 26,000 square feet of meeting space, 167 condos, and the iconic public plaza. To make this dream come true, TIRZ 1 was created in 1998 as a funding mechanism. It will now expire at the end of this year. It is important to note that the value of the space was $5.5 million. And as of the latest appraisal, the value is $196 million. Some impressive numbers there. A couple of years ago, the city conducted a study with Urban 3, where it was found that the Sugar Land Town Square had the highest value per acre, but not just for the city, but for Forbin County overall. This is known as the Purple Mountain effect, and it can be seen here, kind of like that very tall, skinny line. That's it. You can't tell it's purple, but it's purple in this graph. This is truly one of those moments where you can say, wow, we did this. And now, since we will be officially presenting a future funding request, what we're going to do is actually just recapping some of the things that we've done since October and things that we will do up until September of this year. The information in this slide is directly from last year's presentation, where we committed to what the event program would be fulfilling for this year: dynamic and fun, welcoming, engaging, creating commerce, and placemaking. And I'm going to categorize a lot of our events in these subcategories, but overall, a lot of our events are actually layered and do dual purposes. Dynamic and fun, spotlighting Sugar Land's vitality. I really love that picture in the far end there. As an anchor to our program is a very successful tribute concert series. We continue to see an average of 12 to 1,500 people per concert, but in cases like the Journey tribute concert, which we had this past April, we saw close to 2,500 people. 30% of those individuals drove more than 10 miles actually to come out to this. So this is bringing in people from the outside of Sugar Land. And they are reported to have those 30% are reported to have a household income of $150,000 or greater. Weather pending, we anticipate similar figures for the Jimmy Buffett show. Parrot heads are a big thing. George Strait, which is always a classic and a draw here in Town Square, Rolling Stones, and Phil Collins, of course, but nothing like George Strait. Part of the dynamic programming also includes an elevated movie experience. Absolutely. You can watch many of these movies in your home, on your iPad, on your TV, of course. But there is nothing like smelling fresh popcorn, watching a movie in an oversized LED screen after you just took a picture of the Moana character while you watch her arc in the cartoon on the screen. Or better yet, and this was one of those movies that I specifically attended and just magically fell in love with the twinkling lights of town squares with the trees and the new ornaments that we have. And you're sitting out here on a picnic blanket, warm cup of cocoa from Kilwins, as you watch the classic movie Polar Express with snow falling in the background. It's about the experience. We average about 7 to 10 movies per year, depending on partnership with, like our long-standing partnership with First Colony Church of Christ and other sponsor opportunities that arise. We also committed to producing welcoming and engaging events that are reflective of the Sugar Land community. We hosted our second annual Lunar New Year celebration with a lion dance and acrobatic performances right here on the steps of City Hall. We changed our time from noon, which was last year, to this year we held it at 4 p.m. due to significant requests of people saying, please hold this later. I want to bring my kids. I want to go get them, et cetera. And we'll see this event actually probably growing throughout the years as we continue kind of to modify and figure out how we genuinely want to recognize the celebration. This year, we doubled the attendance of 200 to 300 from last year to close to 500 for this year. It was a great, great turnout for a 4 p.m. evening event. We partnered with Escalante's for their patio Cinco de Mayo celebration, which was held on Texas Drive, which is that small street between Flying Saucer and their patio space. We worked with Fort Bend County Judge's Office to facilitate the production of the Diwali Festival of Lights, as well as working with Rabbi Fagensten to host the annual menorah lighting. We purchased a tree for the majestic brand new Christmas tree for the annual city's tree lighting ceremony. We also hosted our third annual Day of the Dead celebration, and I'll share a little bit of stats on that later. And then our very first Black History Month activation, which included Remember the Titans, which is a movie brought to us by Cornerstone Christian Academy, a soul review concert, as well as our very first ever Black Makers Market, which featured 40 different vendors. It brought in about 1,200 visitors and shoppers to Town Square in a month where we typically don't see any activities. As you guys know, February is one of those months where weather can be a little bit finicky. But by leaning into these timely, meaningful events, we really can generate activity in the space that is reflective of the community, also contribute to the quality of life for our residents while generating commerce, as this market did. As we mentioned before, we host our third annual Dia de los Muertos celebration in partnership with Sugar Land Heritage Foundation. This event brought in an estimated 6,000 attendees and featured, for a very first time, a margarita patio ever hosted by Escalante's with real tequila, not fake wine tequila, so there was an enclosed space. They actually brought out their corporate team, which we thought was it was an honor for us. And they were very impressed not only with the dynamic programming and the quality of the execution, but also the sales for that day. And they went back and they shared with us that they had a meeting where they talked about how can they escalate and they can elevate their portion of the event even better for future years. And that's the kind of relationships that we want to continue to have. This past year, and for the first time this year, we really honed in on creating commerce and driving awareness for our tenants and our retailers. We held our third annual Oktoberfest, closer to Flying Saucer, of course, which brought in approximately 4,000 attendees. Flying Saucer is our anchor partner for this event, and they see one of their highest sales nights, if not the highest sales night of the year due to this event. But we also feature additional town square restaurants like Baker Street and Rapport. This event specifically generated 450,000 organic social media impressions count, which basically what that means is it was a highly visible event tying in the brand Oktoberfest, Flying Saucer, Sugarland Town Square, all happening in the city of Sugarland. We also held our third annual Spring Break week-long series during the lunch hour to continue the momentum that we've built on for these past years, but also to strategically time very hungry young kids in the hopes of, when they're yanking at you and saying, I'm hungry, you just turn around and, oh, there's Jupiter. Let's go get a pizza. New this year, we featured a retailer for each day. So Monday was brought to you by a different tenant. For example, here, Wednesday Dino Day, we had it in partnership with Fort Bend Dental. And they had just opened up their doors probably 2 or 3 weeks prior to that Wednesday, and they leaned in. They brought out free toothbrushes. They created this photo op that you see here on this bottom second set of images. They had so many people meeting and greeting with their dentists that they reported back to us and told us that they saw a 25% increase in calls or inquiries about, oh, you're here. Oh, what are your services? Oh, what is it like, et cetera. And that is exactly what we want to do, where we are layering a lot of the points and elements within these events to enhance the overall purpose of them. I will say, though, that we have seen a stabilization of attendance from last year. We've only saw maybe a couple hundred in attendance difference, so we're starting to see that stabilize. And basically what that lets us know is that we need to flip around the programming a little bit. We have that captured audience, and so looking forward into next year, we are considering maybe changing up some of the programming and the offerings. As part of leaning into the commerce goal and dynamic programming, of course, we hosted our very first ever 2-day market over the Mother's Day weekend. Very proud of this event. I can report that it was tremendously successful. Just in 3 days of kind of marketing the event and picking up on the socialization on our platforms, we reached more than 50,000 people, which is almost half of what we reached for the entire month of April. The engagement for this event, these are people who liked, comment, tag their friends, hey, let's go to this, et cetera, more than doubled compared to the entire month of April as well. A lot of the data points that I've shared with you related to the events, we actually pull from Placer AI. This is the same software that the city also uses. It uses cell phone data in order to be able to provide these analytics. And for Mother's Day Market, I kind of want to pull it out a little bit because I wanted to showcase where we're actually drawing people from. Like, they're all over. It's not just locally, but it's all over Fort Bend County, the Katy area, Mission Bend, West University, even Central Houston. And so I thought this was a really good representation of what it is that is coming out to Sugarland Town Square. For this event, we had close to 7,000 attendees over the course of both days during those timeframes of the event. We compared it to last year's Mother's Day event numbers. For the same timeframes, same Mother's Day weekend, we saw an increase of approximately 2,000 individuals. So definitely people came out here with that intention. And the success continues for this event. As part of the market, we also activated a passport where attendees were encouraged to visit some of our hard goods sales stores. These are 2250, Babies First, not the food and beverage, but rather the hard goods, which is really difficult to kind of connect an event into their storefront. So we activated a passport. And then we did a survey and we asked them, what did you think? Bravo. They responded that the market was excellent. They saw a significant increase in sales. They saw much higher foot traffic than they would have in any specific weekend. We asked them specifically, was it quality foot traffic? They said yes. They said that they actually generated sales that they wouldn't have anticipated specifically for that day, and that some of these retailers, depending on how they did their customer acquisition, actually obtained new customers that they hadn't had in the past. So I also want to take a look at the highlighted portion in this open feedback section. It's the only feedback I have is I wish this type of market happens more often. And that is exactly what we want to hear, where we are able to bring in an event that it serves the city of Sugar Land residents while also serving our commerce and our retailers, especially those difficult hard goods stores. It's successful, and we're very proud of that. As you may recall from last year's presentation, we also committed to placemaking and positioning Town Square as a thriving destination, and we're doing that. This is essentially kind of like the rest of our year programming. We're creating the brand new Tides and Taste event happening this weekend. That's the setup that you're watching out there. The best way that we are describing this event and the goal is imagine like a seafood or crawfish boil in the backyard of a very fun and very rich friend. So it's going to be a little bit more elevated than a seafood boil that you would have out in the county grounds. But we are anticipating a really strong attendance for this. We are both excitedly nervous. I have to find a word for that. Without any social media marketing, without any paid advertisement behind it, we had generated within 3 days 1,000 RSVPs. And in understanding that the capacity of the plaza is 3,000, we've met that number, I want to say Wednesday, thank you, Wednesday. And so technically it's now going to be first come, first serve when you come up to the space. You are going to still be able to attend. We're not necessarily going to close it off, but if you have a wristband and you RSVP, you're guaranteed to play. For the anchor tenant for that Tides and Taste event is going to be Fish City Grill. They recently renovated and invested a lot in their space. And so we want to, again, introduce new customers to their space, but also reintroduce customers that may not have been there in a while. Our Cajun Summer Senior Jams is kind of like our NOLA 2.0 concert series, but this is more intentionally marketed and designed. Fish City Grill is our partner for each one of these events happening in the summer. The bingo series and concerts, this is an experiment. So we tried out bingos last year and it was extremely successful. We had a couple hundred people show up just to play the bingo games. We gave very small giveaways and prizes. But it was missing that excitement and vibrancy that we know about our events. So like, well, let's mix it with the concerts because we continue to hear, we want more live music in the plaza. Well, here you go. So we're going to be trying out this year in the summer and seeing how it works for the bingo and the concert in the hopes that maybe we can keep that bingo attendee for dinner and the experience with the concert itself. Jazz Night is a reflection, again, of that feedback of saying we would like more live music. We're changing this up a little bit, and we're not going to position the entertainment on the steps of City Hall. We're going to be positioning it out in the deck area. And the reason for that is we want the experience to be a little bit more casual, more reachable, giving the jazz artists the opportunity to kind of engage a little bit more intimately with the crowd. Then, of course, we have our Stables Fitness Friday classes every Friday, except for the holidays. Dancing Under the Stars, we went back to our traditional setup of people want to come and dance with Fred Astaire. Let's just give them Fred Astaire. And then, of course, our luxury car shows, it brings in a crowd from all over the Texas region. To us, Town Square is more than just a place for events, though. It's a place where life happens. We're also the filming location for many brands like the Mercedes. Recently, Mercedes did a film shoot and a photo shoot here in the plaza itself. Again, luxury brand joined with Town Square's brand. We're also the location for premium partnerships with many of our hotels, hospitals, where we push them to their creative edge to ensure that their messaging is fantastic and is great, and it's about health and quality of life. But it's also fun and engaging and reflective of the space. And their creative team has said, we really like working with our team because they actually can have an excuse to get their creative juices flowing. This is also a place for engagement with our hotel. And I'm very proud to say that we have seen a very good and robust relationship with the Marriott team. We encourage them to utilize and to see the plaza as an additional space that they can pitch to potential guests that are having or hosting conferences in their space. So for example of this, we did the Plug and Play hosted their launch event, their grand opening in March. The whole conference happened inside of the Marriott, but the networking component actually happened outside in the plaza. And because of that, they were able to bring in that Longhorn that you see there. I don't know why the Marriott didn't let it inside. I'm not sure, but liability insurance, something like that. But we had a Longhorn here in the plaza. Food was catered by State Fair, again, positive commerce to our tenants, and Los Tios, which is down the road. The infrastructure was all set up by the Marriott and continuing that overlay relationship, which is a trusted partner. So that's the kind of collaboration we want to continue to do. Another example of this is this Sunday, where the 130th Annual County and District Clerks Conference is kicking off, and we're actually activating the space in the mornings for fitness classes for those attendees, but also opening them up to the public. So this is how we're leveraging those people that are coming into town, brand new guests and visitors, to interact with not just Town Square, but the city brand overall. When we presented these figures to you last year, we projected a budget of $803,000. We're very happy to note that we received approximately $30,000 more in sponsorship revenue than what we originally projected, and roughly 30,000 more in outside group sales as well, which are those two varying income revenue streams there. With that, what happens is that $60,000 goes back into the expense category, first and foremost, to make sure that we utilize those funds to execute what we committed. So what you see there in that media sponsor expense line item and some of that money in the outside groups is part of the expense that is associated with executing what was committed to. But then it also goes into the event series, landmark community events, categories, because this is the money where we're getting from the additional concerts that we're adding to the bingos and the jazz nights that we're doing and some of additional programming that we'll be doing in the fall. Overall, we're showcasing a balanced budget. And this is our very last slide. And I promise I'm going to try not to get emotional on this. I practiced this 100 times, and I can just every single time. Tav even brought me tissues. Okay, here we go. We at Reeby's understand the power of Town Square intimately. We understand that this is the city of Sugarland's smile, the handshake, the feeling that you walk away with saying, wow, I really like that place. Man, I really love living here. Which is why, although, again, this is our last presentation, we are committed to demonstrating the city's vibrancy and appeal through layered, rich, dynamic, fun event programming for the city overall. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
Thank you for the presentation. Any comments?
I have a question. How are you going to replace the $344,000 that the TIRZ has contributed historically?
We are currently working with the city staff to identify different funding sources to be able to continue this programming. City staff has encouraged us that we will see some variation of that. Exactly how, we're not sure at this moment, but we are.
I mean, would your company step up and contribute, the owner?
We do contribute. So part of that POA dollar that you see here is part of that. In addition to that, there's an additional $200,000 to $300,000 that's already contributed to the overall programming, plus additional marketing expenses. Now, this budget is only reflective of the actual programming that happens in the plaza, but there's much more robust implementation by the property owner as well.
And then just one other question. My wife wants to know if you're really going to write tickets for parking here. Is that legitimate or not?
So ask the question, are we really writing tickets?
Tickets, parking tickets.
We are. That is part of a kind of a different budget line item. But yes, we are trying to encourage people to pay to park, at least on the first floor in the ground level here. And that is just because we are needing to, and it's always been pay to park, just the meters never worked. And now with the technology.
That's kind of what that's what she was asking. I mean,
Yeah. Well, the technology has helped, the elevation of the technology has helped us identify who is and who isn't paying for parking.
Right.
And so we now have the opportunity to ticket if we need to do so. But we're doing a very soft launch approach to it. We're not towing any vehicles, just yet. So.
yeah, she got a warning last night.
There
So
we
that
go.
was the reason. Thank you.
Okay.
I also have a question. It sounds like the companies that sponsor these events like Oktoberfest and what is coming up here, Tides and Taste, they benefit a lot from these being sponsors of those events. Do they actually pay sponsorship money or is it only in-kind donations?
It's both in kind, but it's also, it's not a direct dollar for dollar. The retailers also contribute into this budget as part of their rent, a marketing and event fee. So they are already contributing into the elevation. Our goal is not just to utilize it just to market the space in social media platforms, but also to give them tangible quality experience for that customer acquisition. Now, they do provide all of their own infrastructural support. So like they're paying for their food and beverage, and they're taking that risk and liability that if it's a rainy day, then, they're out. It's also they're paying for their own personnel. They bring in their own POS system. They also market the event within of themselves of their own customer base. So they do take an additional risk associated. And so although they're already paying for some of the infrastructure indirectly, what they're bringing to the table is also their dollars, but not in a direct, we don't absorb that cash and pay them back. They pay their own.
Thank you.
Of course.
Do we have any other comments? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. At this point in time, I guess we're ready for the minutes.
We make a
A
motion.
vote? I think a vote is what is needed.
Yes,
Yeah,
please make a motion.
Need a motion.
Yeah, so we need to make a motion to approve their contract so that we can proceed with their payment.
Oh, okay, so I jumped ahead.
So moved.
Do I get it? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it.
Thank you very much. I think I'm.
Did we actually vote on the minutes? Or did we just do minute? Do we need to go back and do that?
I think I made the motion and somebody seconded it, but we didn't vote.
Can you just clarify which minutes you're approving?
What?
Which minutes? It's the December 6th?
Yeah, item 4.
No, I know. When you make the motion, can you clarify which minutes you're approving, the date of the meeting?
So I amend my motion to approve consideration and action of the minutes on December 6, 2024 meeting.
And I second those.
Okay. Any opposition? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So be it. Okay. Next item, contracts and agreements. Contract with Reinvestment Zone Number 1, City of Sugar Land.
Just an adjournment now.
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. We got out of order, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. If there's nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. We shall be adjourned.